Wake up! I'm Doug, and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel. And today on coffee review number 18, we are looking at Monsooned Malabar. So we're going to have to explain what monsooning is, we're going to have to explain what Malabar is, and look at some maps. But first, to get the coffee cooling off, we are going to pour this coffee that I just brewed. I bought the beans unroasted from Smoking Beans. I roasted them myself, and they're beautiful. A few minutes ago, I ground the coffee and made it in my automatic drip coffee maker. And as these cool off, we'll be looking at a map. Big surprise, huh? My usual map source is this book called Coffee Obsession by Annette Maldvair. And she has this wonderful section on India, but it's a big place, and where the actual origin of this particular coffee is not really on here. But India has a long history as a coffee growing country. So the regions that grow the coffee are in green here. And the Malabar coast is really this section along here. So that's a historical name. So lots of monsooned Malabar nowadays is Robusta coffee. It's grown around Kerala. And then they do a kind of a post-harvest, post-processing treatment of it to expose it to the elements. But this particular coffee we have today did not come from Kerala. It came from a place that is not really on this map because it can't show that kind of detail. So Google Maps shows this location of Mysuru, which is a little farther north of Kerala in that region. So this Arabica coffee that we're drinking today from Smoking Beans came from this area. And while I've got the overhead camera on, I want to show you what the unroasted beans look like. And that's the result of the monsooning process. So unroasted beans are usually green. They have various green, gray, brown tinges, but green's the most common color. And these are very pale, yellowish, brown, much more like this than some of these other things I get. A lot of mine look like this. So when I roasted the beans, well, these beans are twice as big as unroasted beans usually are because of the monsooning process. Let's go into that. Back in the colonial days, English ships or European ships would carry the coffee from India, the processed and ready to go, ready to roast coffee beans, be loaded onto ships in bags or barrels or I don't know what. And they would be in the holds of ships for 4 to 6 months as the ships went eastward towards Africa, around the Cape of Good Hope to the south, and then all up the coast to all the way north to Europe. And that would take a long time. And the cargo would get exposed to high humidity, seawater, seawater mist, and all that stuff for months and months and months and months and months. And that changed the flavor of the beans quite a bit. And that became a profile that lots of people liked and were used to. And once they got beans that hadn't been treated that way, they'd go, what is this stuff? I want that stuff from India. And the monsoons always hit that western coast in India, and that's really where the coffee came from or took off from. So it's got that geographical link and cultural link and colonial link and all that stuff from the old days. So they keep doing it. So some of it is, and it's not really a well-defined process or well-defined category. So every company or every place is going to do it a little bit differently. Some of it could be Robusta, some of it could be Arabica, some might be a blend of the two. So you really need to investigate, just like any other coffee, and try to figure out what you're really getting. So I think nowadays they heap these things in piles or a big layer in a floor of a warehouse, on a concrete floor, a brick floor, something that they can clean pretty easily. And they pile up 5, 6, 7 inches deep, and they got open doors. They let the wind blow through. Winds come from the west, winds come in, maybe the rain comes in if it's going sideways during the monsoon season. And they just get very humid, wet, abused, and they swell up and they get pale. And then they get shipped off to the place that wants to have them. So it's supposed to impart a more mellower, a more woody, a more thick and rustic type character to the coffee that you make from it. And I roasted mine maybe a shade darker than I intended to. Every fourth or fifth bean has a little speck of oil on it, so I got closer to the second crack than I wanted to, but it's not that big a deal. This bag recommends medium roast, and I'm maybe out on the edge of medium, with the toe over in the dark side. It's got a pretty mild aroma. The coffee notes are pretty muted. Deep, dark, and rich is what I'm getting, but it's not strong. Don't detect anything bitter, don't detect anything burnt. So it's, wow, it's just muted. A little bit earthy, maybe a little cocoa. Something old or worn, old leather, wood, maybe tobacco, that sort of old aged thing. It's very subtle, it's not real strong, it's not the main note at all, but it's in there. And it might be part of the earthiness, part of the background, part of the base notes. So it's good to me. There's nothing offensive about it, but it's not the thing I would grab every day. When I get through this bag, I think I'll be done for a while, unless I see a Robusta version somewhere. Robusta from India can be interesting, as we'll see in the next few episodes. So this is, I can tell I roasted it a little to the dark side, but there's nothing bitter about it. There's nothing too deep or rich or burnt. Not even getting a slight bitterness on the finish. So it's earthy, but muted, mellow, soft. There's a tiny bit of fruity sweetness, but there's no fruit notes associated with it. It's kind of a, it might be brown sugar notes without the sugar, if that makes any sense. There's something slightly sweet, or it's implying slightly sweet. And it's good, it's delicious. It's just that I usually like other things better. So I'll have it around, I'll use it up. This is a 2-pound bag, probably costs about $23, $24, and I will enjoy it. I'm gonna see what else I get as it cools further. So while we're waiting for that cooling, let me remind you to give this video a thumbs up if you like what you're seeing here. Leave a comment or question down below. Tell me about your experiences with Monsooned Malabar or other Indian coffees, or any coffee. And subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get notified when the new videos come out on Mondays. This is our first coffee from India, but we're going to have some more. We're going to be in Nepal soon also, and then into Vietnam. So these are areas I have not delved into before, so it'll be very interesting. We'll see a new brewing method, new kinds of coffees. So the details on this coffee are, I got from Smoking Beans, these unroasted beans. They are grown from 900 to 1800 meters. The variety is heirloom, some sort of Arabica heirloom varieties. Mountainous Southern Mysore Coorg. I don't know what Coorg is. Mysore is the old-fashioned sort of name from Mysuru. Process is monsooned, so it was harvested and then processed to get the plain beans a normal way. And all done by a local farm cooperative. And then they recommend only medium roast. And they give tobacco and brown sugar as tasting notes, which are partially what I came up with. So this is just getting a little bit more cocoa and a little more earthy defined. The earthiness is defined better as it gets cooler. So I could drink this totally cold in the cup. If it cooled down and I'm at work and have half a mug left, no problem. There's a sweetness to it. It's a little bit of a, it's mostly savory, mostly on the savory side. I'm not getting a lot of fruit, nothing I can identify. And the sweetness is more like a caramel or a brown sugar. And there's earthy notes, tobacco or wood or leather or something old and slightly funky. There's no bitterness, there's no no acidity that I can tell, no brightness to it. So I think this would please a lot of people's palate and make them pretty happy. Nothing offensive about it, but I don't need my coffee to go through the extra processing. So I'm going to do my last step here where I check it with cream. I'm curious to see what comes out. Is it cocoa and chocolatey or something else? Smells like chocolate milk. Tastes a little like chocolate milk. The nose always gets richer when I add the cream. From butterfat or lactose or other things in the milk, it just gets more interesting, full, rich, creamy. And the cocoa notes are definitely going in the chocolate milk direction. So, or milk chocolate. It's just a softer cocoa. It's definitely not bitter, and now it's milkier. So that handles the cream just fine. Although I don't usually do cream, but I do it in the videos. So that works really well. So Monsooned Malabar might be something you could get interested in and have a little on a regular basis. Now the second topic today is blends. And I'm not big into blends, but just on my grocery store stops and coffee shop shopping trips where I've gone out to look for the best roasted beans I can find in the area and picked up a few. Many of them were blends, and that's a topic that a lot of people like. It's not something I'm looking into, but I'm going to bring back a few of the blends that I came across and purchased, and I'll just do a cupping of 4 different things. So I'll be right back. Okay, so blends is sort of the opposite of a single origin coffee. A particular growing region like Central America may have certain characteristics that are common to all of them or most of them. And then, there's fruitiness, there's acidity and brightness. And a lack of certain other things. In another area like African coffees or Indian or Indonesian coffees may have a lot of other attributes that the Central American kinds don't have. Different growing regions, different species, varieties, cultivars are all in, they just end up different. So a blend is taking some of the favorable characteristics of several different kinds and blending those together to try to put together something. So I was out on my premium coffee house and grocery store shopping trip. I came across several blends. So this is Chapatula's blend from Orleans Coffee. And just looking at it, I can see there's light ones and dark ones in there. So they have different kinds. This one is Allegro Coffee Organic Whole Foods Blend, light and dark roast. And if you look at the beans, you can tell there's some that are darker brown, some that are lighter brown, some have a little, starting to get a little bit of sheen to them. So that is out in the world. Let's see, this has a date of 8/27/20. So I don't know how old it is, but it's a use by date. So it could be even a year old. This one was purchased in that buying spree. This is a local roaster to us, Arabica roasting company, somewhere in the New Orleans area, black and tan, implying a dark roast and a lighter roast. And it was ground. So I break my own rules about buying ground coffee, but I wanted to get another blend. And then this I got off of Amazon because the bag looked cool and it sounded like they really were legit. So this is Mayorga Cafe Cubano Dark Roast. And it is fully credentialed here. It's got a Julian date of the roast date, I can tell. 21/76 is June 25th. And it says best if used by June 25th of 2021. So it's a fairly recent roast. This is 2 pounds. I forget the price. $34, $30, something like that. More than you normally want to pay. But I think it's a good blend. I've tasted this one. I've tasted this one. These two are new to me. So we will find out shortly. So I'm just going to cup all 4 and find out how they're different than the single origin types. So I'm going to go into fast mode here pretty soon. So the 4 minutes is up. I'm going to break through the crust and mix up everything in these and then pick out the grounds that don't sink. They smell pretty good. Okay, I've picked out everything I can pick out. So again, this is Chapatulas blend from Orleans Coffee, which is a local roaster. And it has a date printed by the store of 7/19/2020. So maybe a day or two before I was there buying it, it came into the store and that's when they put it in a container. That's the best that's the best case, right? Worst case is it sat there for a couple months before someone put it in. But this is apparently a light and dark mixture kind of roast. And they describe it on the website. I'll put a link down below to the website because you can buy this from them. They will ship it. So it's kind of a medium body, medium flavor profile. Inoffensive, blended. There's deeper, darker notes. And some sweeter, fruity ones. But they're all kind of mushed together. So nothing really sticks out. I don't get a lot of cocoa. Can't quite identify the fruit. I get a vague sort of plummy thing. Plummy impression from lots of Central American coffees that are fruity. It's a peach, mango, apricot, plum, sometimes cherry or other berries. This one is way more diffuse, hard to pin down, hard to identify. There's this fruity sweetness to it. But the cocoa, there's something Asian, Indonesian in here. I think so. I think that's where the darker stuff comes from. Wow, and this is thick and sedimenty. This is a different mouthfeel than you get from going through the paper filter. So everything's in here. The coffee grounds have been in with the water for 6-7 minutes now. So lots of oils and things that might be removed by a paper filter are still in here. So I'm getting This is pretty much the fullest tasting experience you can get, or mouthfeel and everything else. Now we're moving on to the Allegro Whole Foods blend. So this is whole bean, and you can tell there's lighter ones, darker ones. The company Allegro is based in Colorado, but I don't know exactly where their roasters are or how many places they have that do it. But you would think more than one roaster is required to stock the whole country of Whole Foods. Oh, this is deeper overall than this one. There's a deeper, richer taste. And the darkest beans in this one are darker than the darkest beans in this one. So that makes sense for what I'm looking at. There's quite a bit more earthiness here. Darker roast kinds of notes. But it's good. I could drink this. This would be fine every day. It just doesn't have the distinctives that I'm usually looking for. I like exploring. I like having surprises or new things I haven't tasted before. I think everything here I've tasted before, just in a different combination. So this is good. This would do every day. But basically not exciting. Not the kinds of things I'm looking for when I go exploring. So both of these, very competent, very good, and slightly different on the roast level. Now this one I fear, because I couldn't get all the grounds out, so I might be biting on some grit and spitting. We'll see. Black and tan from Arabica roasting in the New Orleans area. The lighter part is lighter and fruity, but there's a dark, earthy cocoa component too. And little bits of grounds that I'm eating component as well. So that is nice. The fruitiness is poking out a little bit more than either of these other two. And the earthiness, ooh, there's almost a wood component, like sticks and twigs. Wow, that's an interesting note. So it goes a little bit vegetal. And it's not leaves or herbs, it's wood. Interesting, I like it. It's just a note, it's one of the notes that's in there. But it's all smooth and rounded and all put together. Nothing really pokes out very far. Okay, so this is good. This is already ground, so this is the good candidate for drinking as fast as I can. Especially if I like it, and I do like it. So I'll have a link for this down below too. I saw their website, they will pack this up and ship it to you. So now the last one that I got from Amazon, and I know is dark, and I know is tasty and rich. Let's see what it's like brewed this way. Whoa, much darker. Much more cooked, smoky. On the verge of being burnt, but not quite. It's not any bitterness on the finish, really. I'm not interpreting anything as cocoa, but there's certainly an earthiness to it. Yeah, there's a dark chocolate character. Without going bitter, without being real herbal or vegetal. This is good, smooth, round. No sharp edges, just round and deep, dark coffee notes that people would recognize as coffee. This is a pretty good blend. So all these are available as whole bean, obviously, since you see the beans. And this one, I'm sure, is available as whole bean. I just didn't see it in the store, or I would have bought that. So the surprise here is this one, and then another surprise is something so dark and rich tasting could be totally free of the bitterness and burnt things that I'm often worried I'm going to run into. So When people take care with coffee, you don't have to add cream and sugar and all the other flavors and things that lots of people think you have to add. So this was a really good roundup. So I don't usually do blends, but I will enjoy finishing off all of these. Quick reminder to like the video, leave a comment, leave a question, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get notified when the new reviews come out on Mondays. So we're going to keep going through India and Nepal and Vietnam and hopefully learn a bunch more. So cheers.